Okay, thanks. So once again, good afternoon to all the esteemed audience who have taken time to join this session. At the outset, I wish to express my sincere, heartfelt thanks to AIMS, its President Dr. R.K. Patra, Ms. Priya, for arranging this session. This is the part two of this knowledge sharing session. In part one, I had given a brief introduction of recognition of prior learning, the new framework that India is going to implement soon in the higher education sector. It is already there in operation that I will be sharing with you very soon. So let me start by giving a brief outline of the whatever I explained, I shared in the first part. So in the first part, I had pointed out that recognition of prior learning is already in operation in India, but that is more at a skill level and mostly for the people who have their learning from informal, sources. So you can see two examples over here. One is PMKVY, the other is my skill sector council, that is Media and Entertainment Skill Council. So more discussion on this later on. Then uh, I had covered what is RPL. So this is basically a formal mechanism to evaluate and recognize a person's existing knowledge and skills. At the core of RPL is the recognition that any learning is welcome and learning from any source, irrespective of whether it is from formal, non-formal, or informal, are welcome. They can be assessed, they can be recognized to help the person to gain better employment or higher education. So this is at the core, this philosophy is at the core of this RPL framework, recognition of prior learning. So all these things I had explained, and then I had also explained the different sources, three major sources of learning. That is formal on one extreme, informal on the other extreme, and a mode that is called non-formal, which has a characteristic of both the formal and informal learning. So mostly we are familiar with the formal sources of learning that are from recognized educational bodies. So after explaining the characteristic of these three types of learning, these sources, all these things we already discussed, and it is already available in YouTube, I believe, the recording of the first session. So those who are attending it for the first time, it would be advisable for them to, at their leisure time, watch that YouTube video also. So this difference among these three sources of learning, formal, non-formal, and informal, I have summarized in this table. Informal, learning sources, there is assessment of the candidate, there is certification of the candidate, and universal recognition of the certificate. In non-formal, the assessment and certification may or may not be there, and it may not be. Generally, it is not universally recognized. And in informal, learning, neither assessment nor certification or recognition is there. But the good news is that under RPL framework, there will be assessment, certification, and recognition of learning from any kind of sources. So that is obviously we can easily say that we can see that that is something revolutionary in nature. So that has the potential to revolutionize the not only the education but also the employment sector, helping people to generate more income, to get social status. So not only in the economic area or education area, it is going to kind of revolutionize the social fabric of the today's world also. So this RPL is known by different names in different countries. That also I had mentioned. I had also given a brief history of the concept of RPL, so that its context can be understood. And interestingly, in the modern era, this RPL originated uh, you know from the need to settle the soldiers who participated in World War II. So that was a huge force, as all of you know. So every country, their political leadership, they thought that unless they, resettle, repurpose the army, its people, then there would be a lot of not only economic but also social chaos. So RPL was taken very seriously after that, and it got the support of many countries and the international bodies like UN, like International Labour Organization, UNESCO, and so on. And even there was a bill or a act in the USA. It is popularly known as the GI Bill of Rights, and its official name is the USA Servicemen's Readjustment Act. So this little bit of history that has been discussed. And then in the last 2 decades, digital tools and of late AI, they are going to be used heavily in, in the mechanism of RPM. So we shall discuss these things today itself. So this is, and I had also pointed out the benefits for not only individuals, those who apply for RPL, but also the educational institutions, then the industry bodies, the employers, and the government also. And I have mentioned that the government, all the governments, they have an obligation to increase their gross enrollment ratio at different levels of education, starting from primary till the university education. So these international obligations are there. So RPL is one of the methods or frameworks to increase this gross enrollment ratio from currently 27% in India to 50%. This in higher education. These figures are different in different educational levels. So everybody is going to get benefit from RPL, recognition of prior learning framework, and its implementation. So for today's discussion, there are 2 points that I'm going to discuss. One is the mechanism of RPL. It will give you an idea about how it is to be operationalized in India, particularly in higher education, and in what way it can transform the social fabric. So first, the mechanism of RPL. Now, the existing mechanism of RPL, as I told you, it is for the informal learning. You can see here on the screen on the left-hand side, the poster says that so far, of course, the number might have gone up a little bit more. So for 9,000 plus Brahmin dark sellers, what we call postmen, so they have been certified. So they, this for to become a postman, the minimum qualification is 10. But after that, they have gained a lot of experience, and this is in the context of, as you know, that the post office, humble post office, has expanded its business in to provide many more services. So these dark sellers, they have their skills, their experiences have been assessed, they have been given certificates so that they can work in the expanded, services that are being provided by the India Post. Similarly, skill sector councils, there are around, I think, maybe around 2 dozen or more skill sector councils are there in India. So they are also running this RPL framework, RPL assessment. But today, as I told you, we are going to discuss mostly higher education, but still then, I will give a snapshot of how the RPL is working for the informal sector or in the informal sector. Now, the key agencies involved in RPL for the informal sector are NSDC, that is National Skill Development Corporation, and sectoral skill councils, or skill sector councils as they are popularly called. Then, of course, MSDE, that is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, they are also involved. And this Yojana or plan, it is PMKEY. So these four Government of India agencies and schemes are involved. Now, in which sector RPL informal, there are very popular. That is in construction sector, automotive sector, healthcare, retail, tourism, hospitality, and agriculture. So these six sectors are the ones where the RPL candidates are more in number. So what is this? What are the steps or what is the process? So first the candidates are identified. Identified by whom? It is identified by the skill sector councils or the training partners. So the skill sector councils have appointed a number of training partners who train the RPL candidates and prepare them for the assessment. As I will be telling you very soon that any certification or what it involves, say informal sector, schools, colleges, and universities. There are three steps. One is the learning part, second is the assessment part, and the third is the certification part. So these three steps, major steps, are also followed in RPL. So these training partners, they prepare the candidates, RPL candidates or RPL applicants by training them and making them ready for assessment. Then, as I told you that the first step is identification of candidates, and this is done by skill sector councils or their training partners. Or government also has many departments, they also conduct many surveys. And then self-registration by the RPL candidates themselves. That can be done at Skill India digital portal or PMKVY portal. So as I told you, there are three ways how these candidates are identified: by the skill sector council, training partners, or some kind of government survey by different agencies, and candidates can register themselves also from their own side. But to make it popular and to create awareness, skill sector council, training partners, and government surveys are also done, because the awareness about RPL in India or anywhere in the world is pretty low actually. The second step involves mobilization and creating awareness among the people. So these awareness campaigns basically aim at explaining the benefits of RPL, and they are briefed about the RPL assessment process and certification process. So after these two steps, then the next step involves registration and enrollment. So till now, the candidates have been identified, they have been prepared, they have been explained about the process, the benefits of RPL. Then the actual process starts where they're registered. They register themselves for recognizing or getting their prior learning and skills recognized. So that is done in this portal, Skill India Digital Portal, SID portal, or they can also approach their training provider to help them to register. Then some basic details are needed, like Aadhaar, as all of you know, that Aadhaar is a kind of social security number. So work experience, job roles, all these things are collected. So more about work experience later on. Then direct assessment is not done. It is just like class 10th, there's a pre-board exam. So that the school, the parents, the candidate, and the schools and the board itself, they are assured that the child has for the final board exam, and they are also assured that okay, how many weak candidates are there, and the gap between pre-board and the final board could be around, I think, a couple of months. So this pre-board, the weak candidates are assessed. They are given intensive, coaching and mentoring by the school, so that they are ready for the board exam. So similarly here also in RPL, assessment is not done in one step or in one go. So some kind of pre-assessment is given, and those who are found not that strong in their assessment, final assessment, they are given proper training. But this step is optional for the candidates. If they wish, they can take this service. So this involves your preliminary assessment of this candidates' existing skills. I need I need a small break to attend to check whether the moderator.
Sir, we can see the PPT, sir.
The pre-assessment is
Okay, sir.
optional for the candidates. Then, of course, the final assessment after that takes place. Now, this is conducted by some approved assessment agencies which are affiliated to National Skill Development Corporation or the skill sector councils. So the training partners are different and the assessment agencies are different to prevent any conflict of interest. So generally, this assessment includes practical tests, oral interviews, or written tests, depending upon the job role or the experience of the candidate. Very soon we shall see it for the higher education. Then the certification is done. Now the successful certificate candidates, they receive government recognized certificates which is aligned to National Skills Qualification Framework. So this is important. National Skills Qualification Framework explains what are the different levels of skills and they are graded, they have their terminologies. So irrespective of the source of the skill or the type of the skill, they are all categorized into different levels. That is NSQM, National Skill Qualification Framework. Similarly, very soon we shall see something called National Credit Framework. So that standardizes the learning process, the assessment process all over the country, and also it is aligned to the international practices. So here the certificates are issued by skill sector councils and they are downloadable from the SIT portal. So a lot of digital technology is being used. Going forward, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, these things will be also used. So the RPL candidates under this for this informal sector learning, they are also given some kind of financial rewards. That of course is not there for the higher education, and they may receive something called a skill card for better job opportunities. Similarly, the candidates can also get some placement support from their training partners or the skill sector councils. But again, this is optional. If the candidates they want to take, they can take it. Now we come to the main part of this today's session. That is the proposed mechanism of RPL in higher education. Why proposed? Because in December last year, University Grants Commission released its draft guidelines which are still under consultation, and once it is finalized, we shall come to know the final shape of the mechanism for RPL in higher education. So, as members of All India Association of Indian Management Schools, obviously we are concerned, we are interested in the RPL in higher education. So here I will just give a fundamental, I will point out the fundamental difference between the RPL of higher education and RPL from the informal sector. So already I have explained that the RPL from skill sector councils or national skill development certification which is aligned to NSQF. Right? Now it can be used for to pursue higher level skill courses or to get better jobs. So this certificate, perhaps as of now, cannot be used to pursue higher education. Right. But RPL for the higher education, it does enable, it is supposed to enable higher education. But here, there is no certificate as of now. UGC has not proposed any certificate as the final outcome of RPL in higher education. So what it will get or what it will give you is the credit. So after the assessment of your prior learning or prior experience, the outcome will be credits. Just like a student when he studies in a regular program or formal program, he gets credits, and accumulation of certain number of credits leads to the award of the certificate, diploma, or degree. The same process, same pathway is here also. So the candidate gets credits which are aligned with the National Credit Framework, NCRF. So these credits can be used to fulfill entry requirements to the program, entrance requirements or entry requirements to the program. The candidate can also use it to get exemptions from certain courses or subjects of study if he or she pursues a degree. Now, this degree could be at the same level because now national education policy allows 2 degrees at the same time, or the candidate can use these credits to pursue a higher degree. And these credits are accumulated through a mechanism called Academic Bank of Credit, that is ABC. So as I told you, as of now, the draft guidelines of UGC is not talking about giving any certificate to the candidate. So what the candidate will get is credits. And those credits can be, the candidate can do redemption of those credits to gain certificates, sorry, to gain higher education or to enter into other educational programs. And that is to be done through academic bank of credit. So, which learning sources are eligible for RPL? All the 3 sources: formal, informal, and non-formal. So, I will just take you through this thing. So, anybody who has an academic degree or certificate can go for RPL to pursue further higher education. Then, those who have professional licenses and certifications, for example, a chartered accountant or a chartered engineer. Then, those who have undergone some kind of corporate training, they can also utilize it. Those who are into continuing education, like adult education, they can also go for RPL. Standardized examinations like UGC NET, like UPSC exams, even those will be recognized, including competitive exams. Now, these are supposed to be under non-formal sector, but somehow the UGC draft has kept them under formal learning, so I have also kept it here. For example, third number, corporate training program. This comes under non-formal training, not under formal training, formal learning. So the non-formal learning sources are like company workshops, certain courses, professional development programs, and so on. Then informal learning, they are basically from work experience. They are basically experiential in nature. So volunteering, self-taught skills, and so on. Personal projects, hobbies, mentoring, coaching. So all these things come under informal learning. So all these things can be converted into credits subject to assessment. So how this assessment is done, what are the terms, conditions, that we shall see very soon. Now, what kind of eligibility criteria is allowed to the RPL candidates? Obviously, candidate must have some relevant prior learning and experience. So when we say relevant, please remember that the learning and experience the candidate already has should be aligned to the learning outcome of the course he wants to pursue further. So I'm sure most of you are from, or all of you are from academics line only. So nowadays, the education is outcome-based education. So the assessment, what the assessment does, the assessment establishes to what extent a candidate has attained the learning outcome. Accordingly, he or she gets credit. I mean, the credits are there, but the marks and other things are related to the level of attainment of the learning outcomes. So same framework has been taken in RPL also. So relevant prior learning experience is related to the learning outcome. Then demonstrated competence. This is where the assessment is done. The candidate has to demonstrate his knowledge, his competency, his skills. And validity and authenticity of the evidence. Part of assessment, language proficiency is a must. Whatever language the candidate wants to communicate. Then obviously the assessment will look at the minimum accepted depth and breadth of the knowledge and skills. And last is that the candidate should be ready for assessment. That's why a pre-assessment is done to find out not only that the candidate has all meeting all these eligibility criteria, he is also physically and mentally ready for the assessment. Because any assessment is stressful. We all of us know that. That's why Pradhan Mantri ji, talks to the children before their exams through radio program called Parekh Pe Charcha. So these are the different steps involved in the RPL process in higher education. So the first is pre-assessment and application submission, then submission of all the documents or the evidence of learning and experience, then the initial or pre-assessment. After that, the candidate is advised to gather further evidence to strengthen his claim for credits. Then the final assessment is taken. Then the recognition to the decision to recognize the prior learning is taken, takes place here, and finally the award of credits. You can see here it is written certification of the award of credits, but as of now it is award of credits. There is no kind of decision, final decision whether certificates will be awarded or not. So I will briefly take you through these stages. First is the first stage is creating awareness, information, and guidance. So because the awareness about the whole concept of RPL and the its mechanism and so on, the awareness is absolutely low. That's why there is a need to create awareness. And awareness about not only this about this framework, but also the mechanism, the eligibility, everything. So the candidate must understand that claiming credits for the previous learning is based on the assessment. So as I told you, that three steps are there. The first step is learning or gathering experience. Second is assessment, and the third is certification. So whatever is followed in formal education, the same pathway is there in RPL also. Then the candidate must get complete information on number one, the process of RPL. Then what kind of predefined learning outcomes the candidate has to demonstrate. Just to underline once again that today's learning process is outcome based. That means the candidate has to demonstrate that he or she has obtained the intended predefined learning outcomes to what extent. That is very important. So in all the syllabus that we frame, course-wise or subject-wise syllabus we frame, we always mention the learning outcomes. So which is stated in this way. At the end of this course, when we say course means it is subject of study. So at the end of this course, you should be able to do this, do that, demonstrate this one, like that. So outcome based. Then, as I told you that the learning certification, all these things have been standardized. For skill sector council, we have a separate framework. For higher education, we have this national credit framework. So it has defined the levels, named the levels from pre-primary till PhD levels. So the candidate should also understand how much or how many credits he can get with his accumulated prior learning. So the candidate should not get disappointed later on. So the pre-assessment or even before pre-assessment, he should be guided approximately. He should be given kind of an estimate how many credits he can get with his accumulated learning and experience, so that he or she prepares accordingly. Then the method used for assessing his prior learning, that is also he has to understand, and what kind of support and guidance he may get from the training partner. So the institutional framework or mechanism for RPL is we shall see that apart from the assessing bodies, there could be some kind of guidance and support mechanism will be there, from which the candidates will get everything they will get to know about RPL. So this may get automated in the days to come, where the frequently asked questions or chatbots and all these things might be used to answer to the queries of the candidates and explain them about the whole process. And the timeline, RPL will take time. So as I told you that there are several steps. So the candidates will be given some kind of estimate of the timeline, that from application to the award of credits, how much time it may take. And to end with, this is also understand that there is an appeal process also. So if the candidate after the final assessment is not satisfied with the credit he or she has got, then they can appeal. So for that, a whole mechanism, institutional mechanism will be set up for disposing to receive and consider and disposing the appeals of the candidates. And there might be some kind of fees for different services. So the candidates should also know that. So the stage two, next is stage two. This is the stage where the RPL candidate has to collect evidence of his prior learning and experience. This is very crucial. And the evidence should also meet the requirements of the different, relevant learning units. So here we are now drawing a parallel with the syllabus. So in the formal, education, formal higher education, the entire program, for example, say MBA program. So the MBA program has been divided into a number of semesters. In each semester, there are a number of courses. So what we call subjects, now we are calling it courses. So MBA is a program, MBA is not a course, right? So each and every paper or subject in MBA is an individual course with a course code. So each course is divided into a number of units, 4 to 5 units, depending upon the number of credit hours devoted to that course or the subject. So each of these units are called a learning unit. And each learning unit will be having some kind of predefined learning outcomes, skill levels, and so on. So when the RPL candidate collects evidence of his, pre-existing learning and skills, they should map to the, relevant learning units of the higher level. or at the same level that he is applying for formalization. So this collected evidence must align with the standards of the unit or part of the unit being learning unit it is being used for. Just I explained. So this collected evidence we shall discuss in a bit later on. So to support the RPL candidate, the assessment center of the concerned body develops and explains an assessment plan. So looking at the application and the evidence of the candidate, the RPL center will develop an assessment plan. And also there has to be a tracking mechanism for the documents, documents showing the evidence of his learning. So the tracking mechanism also will be there. So the whole process will be online. In fact, the candidates will upload their evidence documents and they can track it from time to time. So these things I will explain in the next slide. So what is this evidence part? So this evidence is called a portfolio of evidence. So to develop this portfolio of evidence, the candidate has to understand the RPL requirements. He has to understand the learning outcomes, how they are mapped to learning, then gather the documents, reflect on those learnings. That means whatever learning, whatever skill he has obtained, he has to reflect on it, he has to revise them so that he can, in the test may include, sitting exams, they may include presentations, just like in the formal way, viva was and so on. So obviously he has to reflect on. And if required, he has to write creative written narratives. For example, experience. Not just an experience certificate will not be enough. Those who have taken the interview or have given interviews, they know about it. Suppose as a candidate, you have produced an experience certificate. Now the interviewer may not go by the certificate alone. He may ask you to explain your experience, or he may ask you questions to cross-check that whatever has been written in the testimonial or experience certificate is really true. So in this case, the candidate will be asked to write a narrative explaining his experience. Then all these documents, portfolio has to be organized into different sections. Then before submitting the portfolio of evidence, the candidate has to review and revise them, and can also seek feedback from the training center. As I told you, there is a kind of pre-assessment phase. So the candidate can seek guidance and feedback on the portfolio he has submitted. So only after he is fully satisfied that my portfolio is now perfect and I will get maximum credit for it, then he or she can submit the portfolio or upload the portfolio to the portal and then be ready for the assessment. And reader follow-up will be done. So continuing with the stage 2, what are the different type of assessments? Already I told you about this portfolio. The whole portfolio will be cross-checked for completeness, for accurate information and so on. There could be standardized examinations that we follow in the formal system. There could be interviews or oral exams or other courses. This reflective account, as I already have told you, diary, for example. So a candidate may be asked to, or a candidate who is going to apply for RPL to recognize his experience may well be advised to maintain a diary. So if a candidate thinks for the future and has planned that, okay, I will work for 2 years, after graduation, I will work for 2 years, and after 2 years, I will, utilizing that experience, I will apply for MBA. Now, the MBA might have some entry requirements. Some institutions, they say that you must have prior job experience. So this experience will help, or this RPL will help me to, meet that requirement. Then, he may claim some credit exemption also. He may say that in these 2 years, I have gained sufficient experience and I should be given exemption from studying certain subjects. So to underscore that claim, it is better to maintain a diary from the beginning of a job experience. So that is the meaning of reflective account of diary. Similarly, if it is a matter of skill, then the candidate may be asked to demonstrate that skill through a direct demonstration or through some kind of simulation. Then product or project evaluation. Depending upon the kind of area, for example, an architect, right, or a draftsman. So he may be asked to, submit a project which will be evaluated. So those are the different kind of assessments. So these RPL assessment tools, they vary from country to country. I have given a comparative chart here. So if you look at it, then you shall find that mostly those are like interviews, and the identification is done through interviews. The documentation is through different kind of portfolios, either in hard copy or online. There could be self-assessment also, just like we have self-assessment, or self-study reports or self-assessment reports in case of NBA and NAC accreditation, like that. But everywhere it is about portfolio, portfolio, portfolio. So portfolio means portfolio of evidences. Now the assessment is already I told you, it could be written, it could be oral, it could be practical test, it could be observation, and so on. Now coming to stage 3, which is the actual assessment and assessment of the different documentary evidence the candidate has submitted. So there is nothing much to explain here. This is just like any normal assessment we do in formal setups. Now, who are the assessment bodies or centers? The draft guideline of UGC proposes that institutions of national importance like IITs, IIMs, Indian Institutes of Science, they will be assessment bodies. All the universities and higher educations to which Honorable President of India is the visitor, or the Honorable Vice President of India is Chancellor, then central universities, state universities, deemed to be universities, private universities, and awarding bodies recognized under National Council for Vocational Education and Training. You can clearly see a hierarchy here. So at the top, we have institutes of national importance like IITs and IIMs. So these are all in proposal stage. As of now, it is not very clear to what extent they deemed to be universities in private sector and purely private universities, what kind of role they will play, or what kind of assessment factors or centers they will be given. As of now, it is not clear. So this is a snapshot of the entire process. As I have told you that the credit to be granted has to be aligned with the learning outcomes, and what is a credit, and all those definitions are there in the national credit framework. So the candidates have to understand from there. This credit accumulation, whatever credit they get, those are credited to the candidate's academic bank of credit. So each RPL candidate has to open their ABC account, that is academic bank of credit account. So that is where the credit is stored. And whenever the candidate wants to use those credits and do redemption of those credits to get certificate, diploma, or get exemption from certain subjects in the higher education, so they get utilized from the ABC account. Whatever is not utilized, it will be there in the ABC account. And those credits, once put into the ABC account, they will be there for 6 years. The validity is for 7 years. It is not for the entire life. So that's another benefit of RPL is lifelong learning, right? So all those concepts are definitely common. So regular updation of your skills, your knowledge, those things will be there. So here is a summary of the entire process, RPL process. So the aim of RPL is to ensure social justice, bring social change, economic development, all those things are there. Those are the transformative part of RPL. the outcome is full qualification or partial qualification. Please remember that in India, whatever RPL mechanism framework has been proposed, it is not going to lead either full qualification or partial qualification. In certain countries, it is there. So what the candidate is going to get is credits, the third one, credits or units towards the qualification. And also exemption from some admission requirements and certificate for the labor market competency. That means for job. So the first two are, as of now, it is not there in the draft guidelines. That means utilizing one's experience and skills. As of now, it is not possible to get a complete degree. Not possible. That means a graduate cannot become a postgraduate with his getting his recognized prior learning or experience recognized. Not possible. He may get some exemptions, but if he wants to complete his PG degree, then he has to study. He has to take admission into an online program or a regular program. Okay, so that much must be clear. And the methods we already discussed, it could be a written test, hours, portfolio, and so on. And the broad two objectives of RPL already I have explained. It leads to certification of your professional competency and general competency. In certain countries like UK, they differentiate between professional competencies and general competencies. So the professional competencies are needed or utilized to enter into the job market. I mean, I would not call it exactly labor market, but the job market and the vocational education market. And the general competencies are utilized to enter into non-formal or formal general education. So they broadly, I mean, they are very clearly, making a demarcation between these two competencies in the UK. This is not part of our UGC guidelines. So the transformative potential of RPL already we have discussed in part 1 and part 2 also. So I will now explain some of the experience of some of the countries who have been implementing RPL for the last 2 decades. So the experience is mixed, and the maturity level of RPL in different countries are at a different level. In Australia, it is in advanced level. In France, it is very advanced level. So also in New Zealand. So in Australia, it is used for both vocational training and higher education. South Africa, it is moderate. It is basically for job purposes. In Canada, it is used for immigration and education. Education means enter into formal education sector. What is immigration? As all of us know that a lot of people get immigrated to, they migrate to Canada. So when they migrate to a different country, different culture, different language, they cannot assimilate into the existing population. So to get them easily assimilate with the existing population, they have to go through certain kind of learning and assessment process. So RPL is used for that. In UK, it is purely for higher education. In the Philippines, it is for technical education, not for higher education. France, it is for both job market as well as education, New Zealand for all sectors. So RPL is accepted in all the sectors. But in India, it is just, we have not even started. I'm talking about higher education. And it aims at, getting it used, for both workforce, the job market as well as higher education. So RPL will have application in both the sectors. Now there are certain challenges other countries have faced, and that is a lesson for India. Like quality of assessment, it is very important actually. If that quality standard, all these things cannot be maintained, then there is the chance of conflict of interest and misutilization and production of very kind of poorly qualified, poorly assessed RPL candidates will emerge, adding to the growing educated but unemployed kind of people. The cost could be high. The process itself may look complex. the formal educational institutions they register. Then it will added administrative burden for the educational institutions. So these are some of the problems. Then the need for more, point number 10, need for more trained assessors. So the RPL assessment is definitely not same as the assessment that we do in formal education institutions. So for that, the assessors must be thoroughly, they must be trained to make rigorous assessments. And the assessment process will also be standardized across all the RPL centers. So I have proposed some solutions to overcome these problems. I will briefly go through them. Like before it is implemented, the RPL is implemented in India, there should be a robust implementation process. And that can be done through a few pilot projects spread across India and across RPL institutions. So this pilot process would at least take place for at least 2 or 3 assessment cycles. And after, and the whole process will also be certified by different quality assurance bodies. Then IT infra is very important for the success of RPL in such a large country like India. So that quality assurance has to be capacity building for the assessors. And all the assessment centers, this would also be, they must also go through the accreditation process like MAC, MBA, and so on. Regular quality audits of the RPL centers. Technology already have talked about, particularly robotic process automation, intelligent robotic process automation. So this robotic process automation, here robots are not like the robots we visualize, or not the physical robots. In robotic process automation, the robots are small software programs. So they automate the routine processes. For example, my university is now going to adopt the automation of the answer script evaluation. So for MCQ tests, it is very easy, but for the short and long descriptive answers, we are even going to automate that process so that the burden on the faculty members is less, and the faculty members devote more time on teaching innovations and production of intellectual properties like research papers and techniques. Then the industry, which will be a big recruiter of the RPL candidates, they should also invest because this will be very expensive. The whole infrastructure will be expensive, so they should also come forward not only to recruit the RPL candidates but also contribute financially and technically. And last but not the least, the RPL should be integrated into the broader education and employment system. So already I have told you that the RPL's credit system must be it will be aligned with the skills framework, credit framework, as well as the general national credit framework. So they are already integrated, but the execution and the infrastructure should also get integrated. So these are my humble suggestions. And I have reserved my best PPT for the last. So here comes my best PPT. So thank you all, the audience. Any questions we can take up. Ms. Priya, if you are present, you can take up the questions.
Audience, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat box.
So to summarize today, I explained about the mechanism and the challenges before RPL, and I also put forward some suggestions. So that is the 3-line summary of today's presentation, and I welcome questions from all of you. And rather, I will invite suggestion from some of you that I'm sure many of you are representing or you are working in some educational institution or the other. So how you look at RPL? How do you visualize your institution's role in RPL? It would be very interesting to get the opinion or vision from one or more of you.
Sir, it looked like there are no questions from the participants at the moment, sir.
One question is there from Mr. Subrat Chaudhary, and the question is what are
the different RPL programs or available online? Yes, sir.
RPL is not exactly a program actually, so it is not kind of any kind of study program. So basically, it is recognition of the prior learning of the candidates. It is still in draft proposal phase. I'm talking about the higher education. For the at the skill level, it is already there, but it is there for a very limited number of people. So skill sector councils and NCVT, National Council for Vocational Education Training, they are taking care of it. So as of now, for higher education, it is still in proposal phase. The infrastructure, everything will be there gradually. So anybody who thinks that I have sufficient prior experience, prior knowledge, and I should get credit for it, then they have to apply to the proper process. And after assessment, they will get credit and recognition for their skill, knowledge that they are already possessing, for which they don't have certificate, right? So they will get they will convert their learnings and experience into credits and certificates. Yes.
Yes, so there's one more question. How RPL is different from traditional learning?
Number one, RPL is not learning, that is recognition of the learning. And there is some parallel. In traditional learning, what happens? Traditional means formal learning. What we do? We learn through syllabus, through subjects, through classes, through direct teaching, we learn. After learning, what happens? Assessment. And what is assessment in today's context? Assessment is to what extent a student has attained the learning outcome. So the student has to demonstrate that I have attained 60%, 70%, 80% of the learning outcome. So these learning outcomes are defined at the beginning of the course, right? So after the candidate demonstrates that he has attained above a certain level, then they are given credit. So credit accumulated from different subjects together contribute towards the credit for that program, or MBA program, BBA program, BCom program, like that. Then the certification takes place. So three steps are there: learning, assessment, and certification. So in RPL, learning has already taken place. The candidate has already learned in the past. He is already having experience. He is already having skills. But what he doesn't have is nobody has made assessment of his learning, of his experience, of his skills. So he will undergo the second stage, that is the assessment, and then he will get the third one, that is the credit of the certificate. So in RPL, out of the three steps, one step is already there, it's already over. Rest two, the candidate has to fulfill to get the certificate. In formal learning, the candidate has to go through all the three, that is learning, assessment, certification. I hope I have cleared it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Ms. Mead.
Sir, if you would like to share any final thoughts, sir, you're most welcome, sir.
Yeah, my final thoughts are that this RPL may be new, and thanks to Association of Indian Management Schools, that even before RPL could be implemented in higher education, AIMS has conducted this two-part session spanning over 2 hours. So we have created the awareness before UGC or government could create the awareness. We have already started the ball rolling, and all the members of AIMS, all the attendant participants here, who have got some awareness about it. So when it comes in a big way, RPL, if it is implemented successfully, I can visualize a tsunami of RPL candidates. So we should be better ready than the others, those who have attended it, including myself. My final thought.
Thank you once again for your valuable insights. Thank you so much, sir.
So now we can leave the session.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.